Hello and welcome back to Jackknives Reviews. I'm of course your host, Jack Knives. Today let's look at the new adaptation from Edgar Wright, The Running Man. In a dystopian US where it has become a police state, ruled by corporations, basic necessities and healthcare have become beyond rare. Ben Richards, his wife Sheila, and their sick infant daughter Kathy struggle to make ends meet. With no other option, Ben decides to sign up for the show, The Running Man, a competition involving one person being hunted down for 30 days by hunters, and winning a grand prize of $1 billion. Ben has to do everything he can to survive the game, win the money, and save his family, all while the world watches. The original Running Man is seen by some as a cult classic, blending this campiness of 80s nostalgia with, of course, it being an Arnold Schwarzenegger movie, as well as being a tongue-in-cheek critique of the TV industry with American Gladiators and different things. I mean, even Richard Dawson plays the corrupt game show host. But the original book, The Running Man by Stephen King, is more of a critique on societal capitalism of vicarious nature to showing the horrors of society while painting it as entertainment. Think Gladiators in modern day. Even though the book was written in the early 70s as a critique of the government, it's more prevalent now than it was when it was written. People being entertained by carnage and blood of the reality of our world. Us also somehow hoping for the best, but usually disappointed by it. It's a lot of political statements that make a lot of sense and still resonate to this day. The original 80s movie never really touched on those subjects and kind of just overshot it and focused more on just being a cheesy 80s Arnold action movie. But this is the first attempt at doing the adaptation proper based off of the book, doing it with Edgar Wright in driver's seat of what they want to do with this movie. Glenn Powell plays the main lead in this adaptation. I liked his performance a lot because it felt more grounded. Glenn Powell is one of those actors who is not really well known, but he's slowly starting to get some steam as far as his acting chops. What I do love about the movie is that it actually dealt with the biggest issue I had with the original, which is why we should care. I know that's asking a lot for an action movie, but truly there needs to be at least some sort of stakes as to why. In the original movie, I couldn't care less, other than the fact that it was Arnold and he was fighting a bunch of weird spandex wearing clad, basically Captain Planet villains. Whereas in this one, you see the dire consequences, where he lives, his family, his home life, his situation, the world around him, everything leading up to why he makes the decision of what he does, and the desperation that he needs to keep going. The acting from him and just the action scenes in general, it gets really intense. Edgar Wright is a fantastic director for action movies. My favorite one of his is probably, just for pure action's sake, is Baby Driver. I think the way he filmed it was so unique and in your face. And this has a lot of feel of Baby Driver with a lot of his trademark witty comedy that he puts into every adaptation or movie that he's ever done. Scott Pilgrim probably being the most famous that most people would know him from. Josh Brolin plays Don Killian, the mastermind behind the whole Running Man game. He feels like an executive. He feels like an actual CEO executive, and not in a way that's cartoony. That's what the TV show host played by Coleman Domingo is for. And he does a great job, but not too over the top, obviously. They have to do some goofiness to the story. They use a lot of drones, and it makes a lot of sense for that kind of timeline if this was an alternate world. Again, it's got a lot of very good critique of the world and what we should expect and hope for. We see why Ben becomes a freedom fighter, what drives him to become a person who wants the change in society, and why people root for him. He is an everyman. Unlike Arnold Schwarzenegger, who, in his best efforts of every role he's ever done, has never been able to ever play an everyman. He is, of his time, an 80s action cliche. And there's nothing wrong with that, but there's a reason more people related to John McClane than they would say to his character in Commando. As far as an adaptation is concerned, I truly think this adapts the original story far better. A thing that I actually loved, the original story. But as far as a film, I can also understand why people would probably be put off. In fact, the number one critique I've heard of this film is it's not as good as the 80s movie. And having watched the 80s movie before this, the 80s movie does not hold up as much as you'd think. A lot of the things that you think work in it don't, and is later fixed and redone better in movies like Total Recall. Running Man is a movie that is remembered better than it is actually done in the original works. And for that reason, as controversial as it sounds, this remake is actually a lot better than the original. But again, that's my opinion. And I honestly think it's one of those movies that, if you give it enough time, it's got a lot more to it as far as just the variety of action to it. But if you want a cheesy movie, go watch the original. I give The Running Man 2025 4 out of 5. Have you seen Running Man 2025? Let me know in the comments down below. Don't forget to stab that subscribe button and slice that like button, and I'll see you next time.